Hi, I'm Jennet Ingle, the 5-Minute Reedmaker. If you are watching this on YouTube, would you go ahead and click subscribe for me? That way you always know when I drop a new episode, and also it helps the algorithm let other people know how to find my channel and how to become better reedmakers and happier musicians. Lately, I'm on a little kick of giving advice that is not exclusively reed-focused, but more broadly oboistic or even musician-specific. In this case, very oboistic. I'm going to talk about giving an A. In a lot of cases, that tuning note A that you give at the beginning of the concert can be the most nerve-wracking solo of the whole evening. Certainly, it might be the most important. And we do it so often and so casually, right? In a rehearsal, we might give 8 or 10 A's. In a concert, we might give 3 to 6. Like, we do it all the time. And it's always a little bit dangerous because the oboe is an oboe. So I thought I would talk about it from 4 different perspectives. Number 1, nailing the actual pitch of the note. Right? No one wants to be the oboist who comes in a little too sharp and has to go, ah, and like be the Doppler effect A. No one wants to be the oboist who is too flat and then has to bite, trying to nail that note, trying to like put it in place. So you want to be as close to on the needle of your electronic tuning device as possible. My first piece of advice is have that electronic tuning device on your stand, on the bell of your oboe. Some people use a little contact mic. I don't usually bother. Some people use their phone. I think that's dangerous because no matter how good I am trying to be, having my phone visible to me is a slippery slope. It is so easy for that phone to suddenly flash a notification up that makes me intrigued. It is so easy for just seeing the face of that phone makes me want to like pick it up and start scrolling something, right? It is so easy for my phone to suck me in, and then I'm distracted and I don't see it when the concertmaster stands up, and it's too dangerous. So I use a little cheap, junky Korg electronic tuning device that I bought 25 years ago, and it still works. I just keep changing the batteries and it is completely fine. Have an electronic tuning device on your stand. However, when the orchestra is all being chaotic and warming up and puttering around and everyone's playing their solos, I really don't like to test my A during that time, because inevitably that's going to be the moment that some loud brass player gets quiet and then suddenly everyone hears my A, and then suddenly people go, oh my god, is it time to start? And they start like tuning to me, and I don't want that. I don't want that kind of distraction or uncomfortable, weird, like, is this time? Is it not time? Oh, are we tuning? That kind of energy right before a concert. Let people play. If I need to test something with my tuner, I'll test my G, I'll test my E, I'll test my B flat. It doesn't matter, because I do sort of know what my instrument is more or less doing. I listen for the acoustical environment around me, on the principle that, of course, I'm going to play my note and everyone's going to tune to me, but more or less on a stage of professional musicians, we're all playing in the vicinity of 440. So if I can take from the group around me what the pitch center kinda is gonna be, like I'll, sort of stealth tune to the clarinet who's warming up, I'll stealth tune to the string sound, and I know where that's roughly going to fall. So having in my mind what an A sounds like before I start, having in mind and having been listening to the acoustical environment around me and, playing and tuning a little bit to them as we're warming up, all of that helps a ton. Of course, you have to know your reed. And I would say that if there is any chance that my reed, the reed du jour, is going to hit a little bit sharp, I am very tempted to just pull that reed out just a notch as I'm on my way into the tuning note. I'm not going to play with my reed pulled out, but I would rather hit the note just the tiniest bit flat and be able to warm it up to pitch with my air than to run any risk of hitting it sharp and having to suddenly lip down that Doppler effect A. Again, I just want to have it as close to on the money as possible, and if anything, the tiniest bit low. And then as soon as we're done tuning, I'll push it back in. So that is how I think about landing the pitch itself. Of course, it's something that I try to build into my reeds, right? I expect them to play more or less in tune, but every moment is different, right? I can take an A and place it in any of 6 different places with my embouchure, and if I'm nervous and if I don't really know, like, it's just good to be listening and aware that this is about to be your job. Stability is a thing. We all can fall into the trap of trying to balance the note and trying to make it be in tune and make it match the little like wiggly needle on the tuner. We all can fall into the trap of trying to do it with our mouth, which might sound like the more embouchure I get with it, the messier it's gonna be. So if I have a reed that is more or less in tune, and if I can enter just the littlest bit flat, I want to warm it up with warm air. I'm thinking, when I think about the kind of air I want for an A, of a sound that is not too directed, not too focused, but diffuse and warm. So I talk about using warm air, the kind of air that you might use to fog up a mirror, rather than the kind of air you would use to blow out a birthday candle. Versus, I like to start a little bit softly and then blow that diffuse warm air until it fills up the sound. And that sort of mental image, that metaphor of using warm air to fill up the sound, very often, normally, gives me the stability that I want. I get my embouchure as much out of the equation as possible. I use my air and my embodied feeling of where A is to settle it in tune. In terms of the tone itself, I think a lot of people get very nervous about that, and I understand why, right? It's an exposed solo, and you want it to be beautiful. I think that if you have a reed that is in tune enough to reliably give an A, if you have that note filled up with good quality air, tone will probably take care of itself. But here's a thing that probably doesn't fix it: intense vibrato. We know that vibrato it's not pitch, it's just energy. It's an energy fluctuation in the note, but it's pitch. And so if you're vibrating, how's anyone supposed to know which of those A's to tune to? However, an oboe played with flat tone, completely non-vibrato, pressed, is not that attractive. So I split the difference a little bit. I let my air be alive. I talk about a very introverted vibrato, and a vibrato that fits inside the note. It might be invisible to the naked ear, but I think about just putting a little bit of spin on the air, a little bit of life on the air. It might not be audible as vibrato, but it is also not a still flat sound. And that's really the only concession I will make to tone when I'm talking about giving an A. It doesn't have to be gorgeous, it has to be in tune and welcoming for people to come in and tune to. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the inception of the note, the attack, if you will. I try not to use that word. It's a little too warlike for what we do in an orchestra. But the inception of it, I feel like if you're even a little bit nervous about giving that A, you're going to tend to get real mouthy with it. A lot of tongue attention, a lot of like, ooh. And we can get a little like spooky about that inside the mouth. I don't necessarily, in fact, I don't at all recommend using an aspirated attack, a non-tongue attack, because that's a little bit dangerous. Depending on your reed, sometimes a reed will effortlessly bring you in at a pianissimo when you try for an aspirated attack. Sometimes it will not, and you're not always sure which thing it's going to be. So I use a tongue to confirm that attack, but I live by the mantra, A is for abs. I want to originate that note from within my body. I originate it with my abs. I just use my tongue withdrawing from the reed to confirm. I perceive that that note starts down in my lower abs. I perceive that I can feel my little zipper of support zipping up my body, and when it gets to my mouth, I guess, I release the note. Da, with a da kind of articulation rather than a ta kind of articulation, because again, we don't need to attack this note. When you're giving an A, the things that you think about, I'm recapping now. Pitch. Make sure you have your tuner, make sure you know what the A is supposed to sound like before it gets quiet. Stability. How can you use air instead of embouchure to support the note so that it has that inherent stability? Tone. Can you give a little tiny bit of life to the note with an internalized vibrato? Or no vibrato, but certainly not intense, flappy vibrato. Inception. A is for abs. Can you originate the note somewhere away from your mouth so that it's less nerve-wracking? I hope this has been helpful. This has been a 5-minute Reedmaker lesson. You can follow these short videos here on YouTube. You can subscribe if you wish. I hope you will. And if you need to reach me, to order reeds or cane, or a copy of my book, The Happiest Musician, or to ask me a question that I can answer in a future 5-minute Reedmaker episode, you can find me at jennetingle.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.